Good morning, Vietnam. Good shit. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Trades Trades. We have technical analysis on different stocks in the stock market, as well as potential buy or sell opinions on these given stocks. I like to preface by saying that I'm not a financial advisor nor expert, so I'll take what I say with a grain of salt. Let's get into the video. So today, my friends, my family, fellow Gorilla Gang, we've got a beautiful video talking about AMC and the voting update that we had given to us by that Adam Aron interview. Hopefully, you guys are able to check that out. This video will make a lot more sense if you go watch that Adam Aron interview. It is long, but I'm going to try and give you kind of a synopsis on what he had to say about the voting, situation that we're facing right now with AMC stock. So we're gonna rock through that and give you my thoughts, my response to the voting situation in an unbiased fashion, right? So I'm gonna come from this from a completely unbiased perspective. Look at the information that was presented to us before. Look at the information that was presented to us now, and then make a decision based on that. And then you guys make your own decision based on whatever you think, right? This is just my opinion. This is not me saying, hey, you guys need to do what I do. It's nothing like that. We don't live in I'm not communist, right? This is a free market. You guys have your own decisions to make, and it's entirely up to you. So with that being said, as always, when I'm on Microsoft Whiteboard, we gotta draw up a freaking monkey, a freaking ape, guys, and who's better than the king of the Saiyans, prince of the Saiyans, Vegeta-san. So this is how you'd spell it in katakana in Japanese, Vegeta. It's Vegeta, same thing, but anywho, you know how she goes. Let's just get right into the video and not waste any time. So we have had so much FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that was surrounding this 500 million share potential dilution, from the proxy statement. So I've got the proxy statement pulled up right here. I made a video talking about this, kind of going through this exact process and what they're trying to get done. And in case you don't know, we'll just pretend that this is your first time in this situation. Proxy, proposal 1 stated to approve an amendment of our third amended and restated certificate of incorporation to increase the total number of Class A common stock. The company shall have authority to issue, authority being the main word here, right? 500 million shares to a total of 1 billion shares of Class A common stock. This is proposal 1, and this tripped a lot of people up, right? But the wording is very important. It's the authority to issue, not necessarily the obligation, but the right, right? So if this proposal gets passed, it's saying, hey, we have the right, not the obligation, to issue 500 million shares of common stock at any time that we see fit. Well, there's been an incredible amount of FUD that surrounded this proposition, and a lot of people were worried. They said, Trey, what happens if they just dump all 500 million of these shares into the market when the stock is at $20 or $25? What's stopping them from doing that to pay off their debt? Well, this is where that Adam Aron interview was absolutely beautiful, because I'll be honest, right? I voted no immediately once I read this because I didn't feel like there was enough of a reason to back up why they needed the 500 million shares. People said they already have, 60 million shares on hand that they can issue at any time. We actually had that fact checked, and Adam Aron clarified we actually only have about 43 million coming straight from the silverback's mouth. So we're going to run with that 43 million number shares, but we'll get into that here in a second. They say they already have 43 million shares, so why would they need that extra 500 million? And I'm going to give you my hypothesis on this, as well as Adam Aron's perspective, and just dig into the whole piece. But God, he is an absolute genius with the way that he decided to go about this. In a single statement, he cleared all the FUD, all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around that 500 million share dilution, because there's no question now, right? He came out and said, in case you were not able to catch this interview, I'll just give you the straight meat potatoes. He said, Trey, I'll tell you what, this is an announcement coming straight from the company. I am representing the company when I say this. He says, if this gets passed, proposal 1 gets passed, we will not issue a single share of this 500 million shares in 2021. And what does that mean? It means he's paying attention to the Reddit boards. It means he knows what some of the apes are here for, including myself. Although I am 100% planning on being a long-term investor after I make money with AMC. But nonetheless, he's watching. He understands. He's one of us. But anyways, he's one of us guys, and he's paying attention to that, and he sees the concerns. So he came out straight forth and said, Trey, my proposition to you is that we will not issue a single share of this in 2021 if this gets passed. And that gives us, some leeway. It means that we've got about 8 months for this squeeze to happen. And we've already been about 4 deep, right? This has been happening since, I would say, the middle of January. We had that crazy push January 27th with the 1.2 billion shares that were traded, went all the way up to $25 in the pre-market, right? And we've been slowly loading the spring, getting ready for this next big push for AMC. So he cleared the FUD. One single sentence. It was an absolutely brilliant move from Adam Aaron. And I know it's not going to cause everybody to vote yes, and it's not going to change some people to vote no. It's it's up to everybody, right? But what it does do is get rid of that uncertainty, which leads to fear and doubt. And I got to say, from Adam Aaron's perspective, that was a really brilliant move. And I can't think that I don't think I would have been that intelligent to come up with something like that. So I want to start off here and talk about trends in history, because I think it's important as an investor not to take what people say for face value, but rather their actions over their words, right? It's great if Adam Aaron comes out publicly and says, hey, we won't use a single one of these shares in 2021, maybe not even over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but if there's not proof to back that up, right? If there's no trends or history, you can't really validate that fact, right? So what does he do? He says, Trey, in 2013, we got approved for common stock. He didn't know the exact number, but I'll tell you right now, it was about 450 million shares. 450 million shares got approved back in 2013. Now, if we were to look at the trend of AMC, right, they didn't use a single one of these shares, he said, until late 2016, and it was even later than that. It was 2017. They increased the total float to about 55 million. And then they actually took some shares off the market, down to about 51 million in 2018, and put a couple more back on, right? It floated around between 1 to 4 million, up or down, up until late 2020, when the company was on the verge of bankruptcy. The verge of bankruptcy, guys. So that's not even in his control. They had no other option, right? They said either A, we issue these shares, or B, we go out of business. So they did. And both times that they issued stock, the stock price actually went up, which is fascinating. That's super fascinating, right? I mean, we were at $2 back in 2020, and it ended up going up to about 25 at its peak with 8 times as many shares on the market, which is huge, right? Everybody's worried about dilution destroying the stock price. But Adam Aaron said something very fascinating. He said, stupid dilution is bad. Smart dilution is smart. Right? And so if they make good business decisions and you decide to use the dilution to raise capital, revenue, cash, whatever it may be, in order to improve the outlook of the company, that only benefits us. And think about it like this. You might be thinking to yourself, well, who cares what this does for the long term? Because I'm only here for the short term. But you got to think this, right? Shorts are here for the long term. They're trying to bankrupt the company. So what happens if you have a short position, right? That's a sound, fundamentally strong short position, right? It's a bad company. They're on the verge of bankruptcy. They're running out of cash. Their prospect down the road doesn't look good. And all of a sudden, that's taken off the table because they have cash. They're starting to look good. They're starting to put things together. Their outlook for the future looks good. Well, now your short position for the long term, which affects the short term, right, doesn't look good. You're fighting the grain because you're going to have investors, both retail and institutional, which we've seen happen here over the last 3-4 months, start to go and think, you know what? This is actually a good investment. I don't think this should be shorted. And they're fighting the grain. They're fighting the grain. It doesn't matter how much gunpowder they've got, how much gunpowder, right? Eventually, they're going to lose. And that's why I think this is so important, because I see this argument all the time. I've read some Reddit boards. I've kind of formulated in my head what some people might be thinking. And it's this idea that I don't care about the long term. They can wait until after the squeeze to do this. But I genuinely think that if this gets approved, it's actually going to scare away some short positions. I really do. I think it's going to scare away some short positions because it gives them firepower to fight back. Because we're going to get into some of the things that they can do here down the road. But since they've said, hey, we're not going to use a single one of these shares in 2021, they do still have 43 million shares. And he didn't talk about that, which means that they could still dump these 43 million shares into the market. But I don't think they're going to do it in an unintelligent way. And this was available to them regardless of if the 500 million share dilution gets passed, right? So keep that in the back of your mind. This was inevitably going to stay the same, whether you vote yes or whether you vote no. But where am I going with this, right? The cons of this dilution for the shorts is now all of a sudden you've got some potential benefits for the company, right? Everybody was talking about, and myself included, I didn't even think of this, about an Amazon or a Netflix acquisition of AMC. Well, how about this? Think about this. So AMC, largest movie theater chain company in the world, and they control Europe pretty much to a T, right? They generate a crap ton of revenue, but they don't have any movie theater chains in France or in Germany. Now let's just consider all of a sudden that you've got some sort of movie theater chain that is going out of business or on the verge of bankruptcy. And all of a sudden AMC says, you know what? I want to acquire this company so that we can expand our reach to France and to Germany. This is hypothetical, right? How are they going to do that? Well, they may use common stock. They may issue some shares. And what is this going to do? It's going to increase shareholder value. Yes, you're diluting, but you're smartly diluting. There's smart dilution and there's stupid dilution. There's dilution that you do only to survive for a company, and there's dilution that you do to increase value of the company. That is an opportunity for increasing the value of a company. Second example that Adam Aaron gave, right? He said that we owe debt, right? We've got these brick and mortar locations that are being rented out, and we are acquiring a lot of debt on these properties from the renters, right? Now let's just assume that, hypothetically speaking, as coming from him, that you wanted to issue stock instead of cash and say, hey, how about this? Instead of paying, if we owe you $300 million, we issue you stock equivalent to what we were going to pay you, with the asterisk being that you give us a little bit of a break and maybe we pay $250 million or $200 million. And they cut down the cost and keep their cash on hand so they can make more things happen, because you don't want to piss through all of your cash. That's not what they're trying to do, right? So there's a lot of benefits, potential benefits to them doing this. And even for those, right, if all that you were in this for is the squeeze, which I'll admit, I'm here for the squeeze. I'm going to be a long-term investor, but some people aren't, which is understandable. We all want to make money. There's all different reasons for being in this stock, right? But if none of those reasons, you don't care about the long term, think about the short term. Think about this. Short position hypothesis, their thesis, right, is weak. It decreases because they're fighting a company that's got a shit ton of firepower. They can do so much with 500 million shares. It's fascinating, because if you have a bad hypothesis, right, you're shorting a company that's not a bad company, you're going to eventually lose. You're going to lose. You truly, truly are. And if anything, think about this as a potential benefit for that 500 million share dilution. And there's some documents that have come out, right? I know some people were worried. They said, well, Trey, if he just says this, that's just the CEO. He could be overridden by the board of directors. But it's not that simple. And I'm going to tell you why. There was an SEC document that came out referencing this, and now this is legally binding. They're binded to this, right? A CEO of a company can't state something and not hold true to it because he represents the company as a whole, right? So it's either that, A, or B, they get nailed for fraudulence and misinformation, insider trading, all that sort of stuff, whatever. Insider information, I should say, not trading. And they face some massive punishments, and that's not going to happen. So there's an SEC document that came out. I tweeted this out on my Twitter if you want to check it out. Essentially just saying what Adam Aaron said. He said, we are going to pledge right now today publicly, and we will file this publicly, so it will be binding on us. Wording is specific because you can't announce intentions and not carry through on it. We hereby pledge at AMC that if the shareholders approve this authorization for 500 million new shares to be issued, we will not use one of these 500 million shares in calendar year 2021. Not one, not one. This is massive, right? They already have that 43 million shares, as we've referenced here, right? They've got the firepower if they absolutely need to do it, and they would have had that regardless of if this 500 million share dilution passes or doesn't pass, right? So this is my big takeaway for this 500 million share dilution. What are the benefits? The biggest benefit to me, if you were looking only at the short term, if you were only here for the squeeze, which I 100% understand, it increases the prospect of a good long position. It increases the value of the company. It gives them more opportunity and flexibility to make business decisions that are going to improve shareholder value over the long term, which in the short term makes a short position weaker. Weaker. And I truly mean that, because they will fight this for 5 years if they think the company is never going to be able to come out of this hole, right? Because they were in a hole. They were. AMC a year ago was a good company to try to bankrupt. I don't think it was a good idea. I wouldn't have done it because that's just filthy, dirty, mean. It doesn't make any sense, but it's really a weak thesis if this gets passed, because they have so much opportunity to get stuff done, and it improves the long position. It's a fundamentally stronger long position. So that's I think the largest benefit is the weakening of a short fundamental position. So they're going to be fighting the grain if this ends up getting passed, in my personal opinion. So the risks and cons, right? What are the risks here? So a major risk is this. If they decide not to hold true to their 500 million share pact that they said, their statement saying that we will not use a single share in 2021, they decide to do that, and it dilutes the market, whatever. They decide they do it in bad taste. They don't do it for good cause, whatever it may be. It could, hypothetically speaking, drop the stock price. They would face major penalties for that, right? They would get fined up the wazoo, which they already can't afford to do. Keep that in the back of your mind, right? Their debt situation is getting better, but they're not out of the clear yet. I would say, for the year, they're sitting really, really solid. But if that would really set them back. That doesn't make sense to do. But that is a con, right? That's a possible risk. There is risk involved that they decide to commit fraudulence. I think it's a very low risk. I don't think it's very likely, but it's a chance nonetheless. right? So you got to keep that in the back of your mind. That is something to consider with this dilution thesis and hypothesis, is that they may end up, issuing anyways. But I think the chances of that are like 0.1%. And I say that because Adam Aaron became CEO in 2015, right? They requested the issuance of 450 million shares of Class A common stock back in 2013. And every single time that they issued stock, Adam Aaron was in charge of this because he came in 2015. Now, if we come back to the shares outstanding, we can show you again that they issued stock in 2017 and they issued stock in 2020. Both times the stock price went up, right? So we can fact check him. He says we probably won't even use this in the first 1, 2, 3 years, and it's valid because they got granted to that 450 million shares in 2013. Didn't use a single one for 3.5 years, and then again for another 3.5 years. I focus on trends and on history as a validation of people's word, right? Word is not binding in and of itself. Legal documentation is, and so is history and trends. So I feel very confident in the fact that this is going to hold up, this is going to hold true, and that this is going to do some good things for AMC's company in the short term and in the long term. I really think it's going to improve our hypothesis, our position. It's going to make this a stronger investment. The shorts are going to be fighting the freaking grain, guys. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. Which brings me into my personal vote, and I know this is going to be controversial. This is such a controversial topic across the internet, which is why I'm going to get into your DD here down the road. But I'm changing my vote. It's just going to be a straight up yes. I see absolutely no reason not to vote yes on this vote, and I'm going to tell you why. Right? Hypothetically speaking, if this ends up going into 2022, I've seen this argument, right? Let's say that this ends up going into 2022, the squeeze doesn't happen in 2021, and all of a sudden you think they're going to dump shares on January 1st, 2022. I don't think it's going to happen, and I'm going to tell you that because of trends and history, right? Adam Aaron holds 3.6 million shares. If this stock squeezes to $2,000, he's going to be $100 million or a billionaire. It's in his best interest to take advantage of that, along with other executives. You see what I'm saying? Like, it does not make sense for them not to take advantage of stock price and increase stock price. He spoke on the fact that he wants it to grow slowly and properly. But if it does go to $2,000, he issued his sons both 250,000 shares. He himself owns 3.6 million shares. They want to make money. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to make money? Think about that. And then that's why I think they're really not going to try to screw the stock price, especially now that retail investors and apes, us, the Gorilla Gang, everybody out there that's invested in this has saved the company. The Reddit rally phenomenon, right? We saved his company, and you can tell that he's genuinely invested in the retail investor. He would not have come and have that interview if he did not care about what we think. That was a brilliant business decision, and my hat goes off to that guy. I mean, I don't see how we can't. I don't get it. This is the argument for me. The argument for me is I'm here for the short term. I don't think it's worth, voting yes because I don't really care about the long term. This isn't my business. This isn't my problem. But if it doesn't affect us in the short term, in fact, it could benefit us in the short term by making a weaker short position and a stronger long position, why would you vote no? But it's entirely up to you. And I want to get into that because this is just my personal opinion, right? You have to do your own DD, form your own opinions, and don't just do something because I did it or some other person did it, right? I want to show you something really quick, and that is how to change your vote if you are interested in doing so. So you should get a email from your brokerage firm. Give me 1 second to pause this and enter my PIN. All right, so how do you vote or how do you change your vote? So if you already voted no or you already voted yes and you decided that you wanted to change your vote, you can do that. So you have to go to your email and whatever brokerage firm that you own AMC stock in, you just have to search for that specific brokerage firm. In fact, all that I did is I went on my email. I'm not going to show you because I want to keep everybody private, but I went on my email and I typed in AMC Proxy and it popped up, right? So you click on that and then there's a little link that says Proxy vote. You can vote either ahead of time or you can wait until that May 4th shareholders meeting and vote there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to vote ahead of time. I'm going to wait until a couple days before to submit my vote clearly because if new information presents itself, I want to be able to change my opinion. As investors, we make decisions based on information that's presented to us at that given time. And then if new information comes out, you have to be willing to suck up pride and challenge your hypothesis, challenge your way of thinking, and look at the new information. If the new information validates the fact that, hey, my hypothesis was right, then stick with it. If it challenges your hypothesis and makes it weaker, then it's time to think about that. It's time to think about that. And that's me personally, right? Here's an example. Here's a story. I voted no, and I was certain there was no way I was going to vote yes. And I'm not bought out by lawyers. I'm not getting paid to say this. I have no reason to bullshit anybody out there because this is just me, right? I'm just some freaking dude. I think a lot of people forget that I'm just some random dude living in a hotel right now, This is just my opinion. And we need to suck up pride and realize that sometimes we make decisions not necessarily wrong. We make a sound decision based on information, but then you can't be so prideful that you don't consider new information, right? And that's no ding on anybody. It's just the facts. It's just the facts. You have to do that because that is how you make sound investment decisions without involving emotions. You do not want to come into this emotionally and think, man, I am just going to vote no because I don't want people thinking that I was wrong. I'll take this every single day of the week. If you want to come into the comment section and say, Trey, I think you're wrong. This is you. You were wrong again, blah, blah, blah. You go ahead because I made my decision based on information that was presented to me along with a lot of other people, right? And we just have to deal with what we've got. New information comes out. We'd make new decisions. We form a new hypothesis. So with that being said, go into your email, find that proxy vote. You just type in AMC proxy. It should pop up and you click on vote via proxy statement. And you can come in here and change your vote to whatever you want it to be, right? And then you just click submit vote and it is that freaking simple. If you already voted yes, you already voted no, you want to change your vote, you can do that. Right? And then you're good to go. It's all taken care of. But I do want to urge you to please vote. Please vote, right? Because a lot of people haven't voted. Adam Aaron said that the majority of AMC shareholders have not voted yet. And if you don't vote, it's a no vote, right? Because if you don't vote, it's not a yes, which means it's going to be a no. And you at the very least, specifically say no if you want to vote no, because it's not fair to the rest of AMC shareholders to not have an opinion, right? Please have an opinion. Take the time to do the due diligence, the research, to form your opinion and make a decision based off of that. So that is how you would change your vote. That's how you would make your vote count. And just make sure you're doing your ODD. The last thing that I want to say is influencers, right? YouTube. There's a lot of YouTubers out there, myself included, that talk about AMC every single day, right? And I'm not telling you not to watch us. I think it's important to get different opinions, but not to follow them just because they did that, right? I would be doing you a real disservice if I told you just to do what I do, right? If you don't agree with me, that's awesome. That's fine. I totally get that. And honestly, I accept that because if you're not challenging your way of thinking, then you probably don't trust your hypothesis that strongly, right? So you don't have to agree with me. That's totally okay. You don't have to agree with another YouTuber, but I challenge you to not just blindly trust what people say, right? Take the time to dig into some DD, some research, make your own opinion, decide, based on, okay, I heard this opinion. Now I'm going to do some DD for my own opinion and make the decision based off that. I think there's some Dragon Ball Z character out there that's telling people that if they don't vote what I vote, then I'm kicking them out of the chat or something. And that's an example of what you don't want to do, right? So please, make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. Make sure that you are taking the time to decide by yourself. This is what I stand for. This is what I believe in. These are other people's opinions. Based on all this information collected, this is my decision, right? I mean this in the most polite, humble, loving way. Don't be a sheep, right? Make your own decisions. Don't do something because I did it, because this guy did it, because that guy did it, because this guy did it, right? Do it because you did it. Don't follow the herd. Be your own guy, right? Make your own decisions. And that's all I have to say about the voting stuff. I'm just going to give you a quick update on the data that we have available to us. I've got Ortex pulled up, and man, let's go. AMC is looking stupid, filthy, disgusting right now. We've got 98.7% utilization on the stock right now, which means that out of 100% of lendable current shares, there's only 1.3% of loanable shares available for lending. Now, this doesn't mean that 98.7% of the available shares are being shorted, but it means that they're out on loan, which inevitably means that there's less shares available to loan for a short position. So they are really eating this up very fast. Short interest went up 1.97% today. Current short interest percentage of float, 22.27%. What does this mean? The shares available to the general public, the retail investor, after insiders have their cut and institutional buyers have their cut, is the free float, right? This is what everybody else gets. And out of that free float, 22% or over 1/5 of the stock is currently being shorted. 93.01 million total shares is the estimate right now, right? We have 4.47 million more shares that are borrowed today and only 1.66 returned, which is net negative, meaning that there are 2.81 million more shares borrowed. The shares on loan, 142 million, up 11% in the last week. Free float on loan, 34%, 11% higher, right? 21.84% short interest percentage of free float, right? That's a 13% change. This is going up. We are winning this battle, guys. And what's incredible is they're shorting this to Kingdom Come, but we've had 2 freaking green days in a row, which is beautiful, guys. I'm telling you, we're sitting in a great position right now on AMC stock. I think it is fascinatingly bullish, and there's just, I'm really happy with where we're sitting right now. We've got, according to this website, 10,000 total shares available to borrow, which is extremely low, right? You've got 47,000 call options expiring in the money tomorrow, and we would have 60,000 more at $10 if we close over $10, which is freaking awesome. I'm loving to see that. I'm loving how bullish the stock is right now. It's making great progress. And this is despite the fact that the last 2 days, the short volume percentage has been incredibly high. We saw 56% of the total volume yesterday as short volume. I'm going to update this and see if it has the data from today, but it didn't when I came in here. Yeah, it doesn't quite have it yet, but I would imagine that it's going to be pretty freaking high. So this has really been shorted heavily the last, 2 trading weeks. It's just continuously going up, and they're starting to lose the freaking battle, guys. They're running out of ammo. The apes are destroying this thing. We are buying it up. We are holding the stock. We are winning. We are flat out winning, guys, and that is freaking awesome. One last thing that I want to say. I think that GameStop and AMC both are very, very squeezable stocks. But if we wanted to talk about risk, right? If we want to talk about risk, I think that GME, as it sits right now, and I mean this in absolutely no biased way, is fundamentally overvalued. AMC, if I had to say, I believe is fundamentally undervalued. I don't think that where it's trading right now is worth its actual fundamental value as a company, and that is why I believe that AMC is less risky than GameStop is right now. So, taking that into consideration, if you wanted to pick between AMC and GameStop, both of which I think can squeeze, both of which I think should have some love, right? There's huge upside in both of these stocks. If you want to pick the less risky one, the one where, hey, if worse comes to worse, this doesn't end up doing what you want it to do, you're still going to make money, I think it's going to be AMC stock, right? And I mean that in the most unbiased way. I've looked into GameStop, right? It's super squeezable, 100%. It's squeezed way more than AMC has, and that's totally fair, But if push comes to shove, I think AMC stock is the less risky investment, and I did want to just touch on that here briefly as a risk management piece of this because, to be completely frank, right, this is risky stuff. There's nothing guaranteed. It's called Wall Street Bets, not Wall Street Guarantees. With both AMC and GameStop, we as a collective whole, as JB said in that interview that I did with him, if you're going to invest in speculation, make sure that you are digging into everything, staying up to date with all these numbers, digging into all the data, digging into the Reddit boards, digging into the Discords, staying on top of this stuff because it is risky. So all that we can do is really manage our risk by staying on top of this stuff, continuing to dive in, do this DD, be with our fellow apes and be strong together because apes together are freaking strong. My friends, family, and Gorilla Gang. That is what I've got for the video today. So if you enjoyed it, please drop a like. It really does help support the channel and consider subscribing if you like to see more content like this. Lastly, I have an affiliate link in the description box down below for Webull. It is a great platform that allows you to start trading at 3 a.m. in the pre-market. If you use my link, I get 2 free stocks with a $100 deposit. You get 2 free stocks. My bad. You get 2 free stocks with a $100 deposit, and I will get a free stock as well. So it's a great way to support the channel. If you're not interested, that is totally fine. And I just appreciate your support by taking time to watch my videos. I also have a link to the merch store if you want to pick up a hoodie or a mug or a t-shirt or whatever that might be. And then my own personal Discord. It's $5 a month. Keep it super cheap so that anybody can join a great community of investors. We've got a lot of great stuff in there. And that's what I've got for you guys today. So thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. Family, friends, family, Gorilla Gang. I absolutely love everybody here. Take it easy, my friends, and peace.